Hey Chill Pills, I wanted to share with you guys a pretty cool opportunity today. I'm actually working in the women's pavilion, and sometimes we have to compound medications for babies that are too strong in the adult dosage form, so we have to dilute them or break them down into doses that are appropriate for NICU babies, neonatal babies. Just to show you an example, we have some medications here today that were broken down that my other technician helped to compound sodium phosphate, and we actually have to do it by hand. So I mentioned earlier that sometimes you only compound at a compounding pharmacy, but you may have some opportunities to compound in a hospital setting, a retail setting, or various other settings. So today I actually get the chance to compound a Diamox dilution for the babies that are born here. So it's pretty cool, and just like we do in lab, we actually have to go into our compounding notebook to find the medication log on how to actually prepare the medication. So here's the section for Diamox acetazolamide suspension, and I explained earlier what is the difference between a suspension and a solution, and I have to locate my medication. It's telling me ingredients to prepare for a 60 milliliter dose and ingredients to prepare for a 90 milliliter dose. So I'm actually going to prepare the 60 milliliter dose today, which is a total of 6 tablets of the 250 milligram dose. And I need cherry syrup. QS, remember that is, QS, remember that is to supply sufficient quantity. AD, as needed, as directed, which means we're only going to do 6 tablets. We're going to titrate that, and then we're only going to pour in enough that's going to fill our volume to 60 milliliters. But I'll show you guys that when we get a chance. Also, and then it has the instructions here. It says preparation details: triturate the tablets to a fine powder in a mortar and pestle, just like we did in our lab class. Then we levigate with a small amount of cherry syrup to form a paste, and I'll show you guys that as I do it. Then we will add the base solution in increasing amounts, which is what that QSAD. Add base solution in increasing amounts while mixing thoroughly. Then you'll transfer the contents to an appropriate size amber bottle, a light sensitive bottle, and QSAD to total volume indicated above. Shake well to mix. So I'll try to walk you guys through the steps as I'm doing it with you, and you can see how I do it compared to how you do it in lab. Okay, so because the recipe has already, I want to say the medication log, has already told me that I needed 6 tablets, I just went ahead and counted out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, let me get a spatula. In class, remember, we add more because of the residue, the remainder that will actually stick to the side of your mortar. So you add an extra. Oh, thank you. The below. Thank you. Because of the residue that might actually stick to the side of your mortar. And then we also measured out the tablets in class because I gave you a prescription in which you had to calculate. But the recipe has already had the calculations prepared for me, so I didn't actually have to measure out my tablets to get the dosage correct. So I'm going to go ahead and triturate this, and then I'll let you know once I add the base what that base in the paste form will look like. Okay, so I finished triturating the acetazolamide tablets. I actually removed those additional tablets that I showed you earlier, and so this is the fine powder that I was able to triturate the tablets to. I worked it not too long. The tablets actually disintegrated quite quickly, so didn't have to work on it too long. And also there's not much of the tablets sticking to the sides of the mortar, so this is actually going to work out really well. I'm gonna try to scrape that off. Then the instructions said to levigate with a small amount of cherry syrup to form a paste. So I'm just going to add a little bit of cherry syrup, compounding syrup vehicle, and we're going to try and make a small paste. Have you all ever baked biscuits before? You may try to push your tablets out to the side and then pour your cherry syrup in the middle, and then add a little bit of powder at a time. Slowly. We'll add a little bit more cherry syrup. And then slowly add more paste as needed. So my pharmacist actually assisted me, and the other technician who's working with me today, partnering with us today, actually showed me a really cool tip. I can't wait to share it with you guys in class. They brought me a 60 milliliter syringe, and they pulled out the plunger. And because sometimes the graduated cylinder is really difficult to use, if your pharmacist prefers you use the graduated cylinder, then do so. Do as you're instructed. But they actually came up with a cool tip of using a 60 milliliter syringe in order to measure up to 55 milliliters of cherry syrup as the instructions recommended. That way that we would actually have sufficient quantity when we pour it into our amber bottle. I actually created my base. I was just pouring it a little bit at a time, as you saw in the video, and so I actually just measured up to about 50 milliliters. I guesstimated about how much cherry syrup I already utilized and poured into the mortar. So I just measured to about 50. Pour the remainder into the mortar and pestle, stirred it up, gave it a good shake, and then I poured it into my amber bottle. And now we're going to prepare a label for our compounded suspension.